Sorcerer has 2 to 4 players using cards to summon minions and cast spells to defeat opponents. White Wizard Games provided this in exchange for an honest review. You can play this in a multiplayer free-for-all and as teams. For this review, I'm focusing on the PvP, or player versus player game. There's also a lot to this game, so I'll try to keep it simple. To create your Sorcerer, players will each take a character, a lineage, and a domain deck. The skill cards go above your player board and will show you an action, ongoing effect, and tactic that will be available to you throughout the game. These will only trigger in the battlefield where your avatar is. I'll explain all this later. First, let's take a closer look at the cards. All cards have their energy cost in the top left. Spend that much energy to play the card. Below it will be wings if the minion can fly from any battlefield to another. If the minion can't fly, it can only move to an adjacent battlefield. Below that will be an omen icon, meaning you collect an omen token when you play this. Legendary minions have a little icon to the left of their name. Some cards have special effects for legends. To the right of the name is the deck symbol. The text will be straightforward. At the very bottom of the card is the type. Some cards have special effects for different types. Finally, the red icon shows how many dice you'll roll when attacking, and the green is your essence, meaning health. When you play a minion, place it in a battlefield. Sorcery cards are one-and-done spells. Cast them, then resolve the text. Attachments are pretty straightforward. Play one, resolve the text, then slide it under a minion so the attack and essence modifiers can still be seen. When a minion is defeated, it and any attachments, as well as cast sorceries, all go to your graveyard. The player boards are double-sided, so I'm not going to say left or right here. Instead, I'll describe them as best as I can. Skipping the reference information, the star is where omen counters go. An omen counter can be spent to reroll a single die, yours or your opponent's. The little area next to it is where the fate counter goes. The fate counter not only shows player 1, but can be emptied to force a reroll of all dice, yours or your opponent's. The rectangular space is for your deck. The creepy space is your graveyard, meaning discard pile. The long track is your energy tracker. You start the game with 6 energy. The 7-spot track is your action tracker. You have 6 actions per turn. Once both players have finished their final action, the battle begins. The goal is to destroy the battlefields. Each side has 12 health. Once a player has dealt that much damage, flip the board and put the red cube on the winner's side. The winner of 2 battlefields wins Sorcerer. I'll explain battles soon. First, let's walk through turns. You skip the ready phase on the first turn. Normally, you'll give the player to your left the fate counter, so they'll be player 1. Ready all exhausted or sideways/activated cards. Player 1 rolls the energy die to see how much everyone gains, or has everyone gain 4 energy instead. Set action trackers to 6. Everyone gains an omen token, and, starting with player 1, place the avatar in any battlefield. Player 1 will take an action, then the next player, and so on. On your turns, you may gain 2 energy, draw 2 cards, play a card by paying its cost, activate an action power on a card, or move a minion. Once everyone has used all 6 of their points, start the battle phase. Battles begin in the battlefield to player 1's left. Once all minions have been exhausted, move to the next battlefield. Player 1 only goes first in the middle battlefield. Exhaust a minion, activate any tactics that are in play, then roll the battle dice. Players can spend omen tokens or even the fate token to force rerolls. Once players are satisfied, assign damage. Dice can miss, deal 1 or 2 hits, or deal a critical hit. A critical deals 1 hit, but 2 if there are no minions at a battlefield. There's a trick to Sorcerer though. The attacker only chooses where criticals hit. The defender gets to assign the remaining damage as they like. Once every minion at every battlefield has been exhausted, move to the ready phase if the game hasn't ended. Play until someone has won 2 battlefields. That's pretty much all of Sorcerer. Almost everything else will be specific to the decks. Play cards and perform actions to grow in power, then destroy 2 battlefields before your opponent. That's Sorcerer. With 2 players, you could play Sorcerer on each end of a large rectangular coffee table. Otherwise, stick to dining tables. The theme and art are creepy, almost frightening. I think it'll be too much for young kids and possibly some adults. There's also a lot of grade 4 reading. With all that said, the gameplay isn't all that difficult to understand. If you can play Magic the Gathering, you can play this. Length depends on how cards come out, your strategy, and luck of the die. The more you play though, the faster it gets. Expect your learning game or a group free-for-all to be close to 2 hours your first time. Once comfortable, 2 can play in 35 to 45 minutes, and 3 could play in under 90 minutes. As always, this includes setup and takedown. Early in our 3rd game of Sorcerer, Mom went after an undefended board to get some hits in while I focused on the other 2. To slow her down, I started exhausting her strongest minion there while I moved my army over from defeated battlefields. I spent my final turn boosting minions, exhausting hers, and reviving my mummies. I won. In our 4th game, Dad and I battled hard for the middle battlefield. With his final action, he moved his legendary minion over to the right, so I moved a regular minion to the left. I dealt 6 damage to my battlefield, won the middle, and he destroyed the right one. We spent the next 2 rounds manipulating dice, putting out minions, and exhausting, /boosting, /cursing, /burning. It was epic. I was 1 point away from losing, and Dad was 3. He didn't roll any criticals, so I assigned all the damage to one of my 2 minions to kill it. I rolled a 3. Dad smiled and shook my hand. I ran off and bounced around in celebration. What a game! Sorcerer's theme and gameplay kinda fit, but it easily could have been different. I love that it's dark, grim, and evil. It is cool that we're trying to crush the life out of our enemies. I wish the battlefields in the base game had variable abilities. There's an Egyptian expansion with unique effect on each of the 3 boards. Here, it's just a test to see which player comes out on top. I don't mind that, but I would have liked the option. Think that the battlefield tracker should go on your side to track the damage you deal? Do it. If you want to count down from 12 damage instead of going up, go ahead. As long as everyone agrees, track the way you want. The gameplay doesn't change. I like that. Like in Dice Throne, you can play this in multiple ways depending on how many players you have or what your preferences are. It's just the 3 of us most of the time, so we'll do PvP and free-for-all, but we'll definitely try teams when our friends Ariel or Norm visit. Those double-sided player boards are glossy, so watch out for reflections. The art and layout are awesome, and that built-in player aid is one of the best I've ever seen. The graphic design of the cards is also good. The omen symbol could get lost a bit in the dark art, but that's a nitpick. I love the deck symbols because they make separating for takedown easier. The font size is perfect, and the dice symbols are easy peasy to figure out. The characters, lineages, and domains feel very different. Lineages are half the deck, meaning they're the meat of the game. You could play as the same character and domain, but your sorcerer and strategy will change from the necromancer to, say, the animist. You get 64 combinations in the base game, and White Wizard already has released a few new packs to add more options. The luck mitigation is brilliant. You'll almost always have omen tokens, and the first player being tied to the feint counter is quite smart. Oh, and the whole player one only goes first in the middle battlefield helps balance things too. There are many smart decisions in this game. I really like Sorcerer. There's so much replayability and decisions, and a strong mix of strategy and tactics. Should I go after the minions or a battlefield? Should I put out a handful of minions to absorb damage, or should I just boost my heavy hitters? Where do I put my avatar? If you like Smash Up, this is maybe 2 steps up from that in terms of complexity. It's also more direct. In Smash Up, you could just focus on bases instead of sticking it to other players. Here, you definitely need to manage your opponents if you want to win. If you hate luck and or attacking someone in games, definitely skip this. That's the whole point of Sorcerer. As spectacular as this is, it won't change your mind. If you do enjoy these kinds of games and you like a creepy theme, I bet you'll love this. I love Smash Up, but I like this even more. I like it even more than Dice Throne. Yeah, it's that good. It's more than good. It's phenomenal.